What happens when account management meets social impact? Liz Jones is here to talk about that. She is the senior manager of corporate partnerships at Genesis Works Chicago, which is a nonprofit that connects high school students with paid internships at top companies across the city. In this conversation today, Liz explains how her team builds sustainable, mutually beneficial partnerships that serve three sides all at once: the business, the student, and the community. She shares how to speak the language of business inside a mission-driven organization, how to uncover risk before renewal season, and why curiosity and credibility are the real foundations of trust. This conversation is a reminder that when you listen first and build trust, everybody wins. If you're an account manager, you already know this. You're the one keeping the business running. You own the client relationships, drive the revenue, and solve the tough problems for your customers. But here's the challenge. Most companies don't give account managers the training or recognition they deserve. That's what you'll get here on the Account Management Secrets podcast. I'm Alex Raymond, and after working with thousands of account managers, I know what separates the best from the rest. In this show, we cover exactly what you need to succeed: handling tough client conversations, driving renewals and upsells with confidence, and proving your value every single day. There's no fluff, no outdated sales tactics, just real practical strategies you can use right now to grow your accounts and build a successful career. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, hit subscribe and let's get into it. Hey, Liz, great to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Alex.
This is a unique conversation. So most of the time we talk with account managers at for-profit companies, right? Who have a job to increase revenue and increase profits from their customers. In your case, we're talking about something pretty different, which is the social enterprise version of account management, or the nonprofit version of account management. You work for Genesis Works in Chicago, which is a super interesting nonprofit. And I've never really explored this space. So I'm eager to learn more and eager to understand how all this works and what the moving parts are as it relates to account management in the nonprofit world. So why don't we just start with you telling us what that even means? What does it mean to be an account manager for a nonprofit?
Absolutely. Well, I've spent my career in the account management, partnership management role in the nonprofit world. And much of that's been in workforce development, which adds an additional piece of helping the company solve their talent needs, which can sometimes be very pressing or high importance, while also having an impact on the community. So this could be helping them hire roles that are difficult to fill, or bringing exposure to early career opportunities that many people in the community may not be aware of, helping them build talent pipelines. And this can pretty much mean employing community members who would greatly benefit from that employment. So we all like a win-win. That's why we become account managers. But in the nonprofit world, that win is also on behalf of the community as well. And so my role is really understanding the corporate partners that we're partnering with, understanding their why for why it's important for them to tap into our mission, helping them feel the impact that they're creating, and really being able to speak to those aspects that are most important to them. A lot of people go into the nonprofit world because they're passionate about creating impact or about the mission. And that's really great, but we also need to be able to speak the language of business if we're going to partner with these companies sustainably and really be able to make an impact for the long term.
Okay, cool. Got that. It makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to dive into that. Why don't we share a little bit about what the current organization that you're with does? What's its purpose?
So I'm currently the senior manager of corporate partnerships at Genesis Works Chicago. It's an organization, it's a social enterprise nonprofit that places high school students in paid corporate internships during their senior year. So they're actually going to school in the morning, and in the afternoon, they're interning at some of the most amazing companies all around Chicago. So these students are earning money. They're also receiving a lot of support from our organization as they're thinking about applying to college, planning their future, both career wise and education wise. And the companies get to bring on these highly motivated, pre trained interns who are working part time, 5 days a week. For about 10 months over the course of the school year, which is enough time for them to make meaningful contributions and generate real business value for the team. And so my role is really to manage these partnerships to help our companies feel excited about the interns they're bringing on, and really just speak to their voice in the process, making sure that their needs are being met so that they want to continue renewing with us year over year, bringing on more interns, which ultimately creates more impact for the students.
And so they're paying you. So a company will pay you to run the program and to also then disperse the fund, like actual pay the interns. Is that how that works?
Exactly. So they're partnering with us. We have a contract that we sign. They pay us a certain hourly rate for the interns, and then we manage the payroll. We pay the interns. We also provide a lot of additional supports as well. So some of what the companies are paying is also going towards us being able to continue to exist as an organization and provide that outstanding level of support.
So what's an example of a Chicago company that's doing this and hiring a bunch of interns? Like who are your like success studies or case studies?
Yeah, we actually work with about 40 companies here in Chicago. That number is always ebbing and flowing as the years go by. But we work with people in all different industries, whether that's healthcare, whether that's banking, consulting, all different kinds of industries. Today, I actually had a conversation with an executive search firm that we partner with. We also are getting more into the construction space as well. That's something where there are a lot of incredible opportunities, actually quite lucrative career opportunities, but many young people aren't even aware of them. And so companies are reaching out to us and actually waking up to the fact that instead of fighting over the few candidates that decided to go into project management for a construction company, and fighting with the other construction companies over those candidates, actually investing in a young person at that key moment in their life, their high school senior year, when they're making decisions about what they want to go into for their career. And so, being able to bring them exposure about that career path, help more high school students be aware of that so that when they are going into college, they're actually keeping that in mind as they pick their educational path. So a lot of these companies see organizations like Genesis Works Chicago as a key way of being able to bolster their early career talent pipelines at a much earlier age. As we see with athletes, they're starting to recruit them back in middle school, and then invest in those athletes through high school into college. Go earlier and earlier. So one of the companies that we're actually partnering with here in Chicago is Skender, and they actually are piloting with us this year a project coordinator intern. We're going to be very excited to hear how that goes because I know that that's a high area of need. And I just really want to shout them out because they are so excited to try something new to see how it's going. And I actually just learned a couple of days ago that they are having so much success with this high school intern that he's actually helping to train one of their full-time hires, even though he's only been in the role for a couple of months by now.
Okay, well that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So companies are interested in joining this program with Genesis Works because they're saying, this allows us to tap into a talent pool that we wouldn't normally have access to, and we're sort of trying people out, and we're getting our name out there with a new generation of people in a non-traditional way, right? Because we're bringing on a intern while they're still in high school. So that's pretty meaningful for them. What makes them then want to stick with it? So like, what are the success metrics, or how are you tracking with your customers. Is this working? Is it not working? Do we need to make any changes next year? That's a big part of the life of an account manager, is figuring out, what's working, what's not working. And so where do we need to make changes? So how do you kind of roll up your sleeves and work with a corporation once they become a partner?
Yeah, to first speak to that first piece that you were talking about around why our company's partnering with us, that is absolutely key for me in my role to make sure I'm understanding the company's unique why, because they all have different reasons for partnering with us and they all have different things that they're hoping to get out of that partnership. So before we can start to measure impact and report that back to them, we first want to understand what is it that they're looking to get out of this. For some partners, it has to do with meeting their immediate talent needs. So can an intern perform some repeatable tasks that can free up their supervisors to think about other different kinds of things that might be on their mind? I think we'd all like an intern to kind of take on some of the everyday busy work so that we can be thinking about those bigger problems that we're looking to solve. Is it about building that talent pipeline for whether it's diverse talent or whether it's looking for roles that might be difficult to fill where people might not be aware of them, that exposure? Is it connected to their values around corporate social responsibility? Or is it building credibility with the communities that they serve? Maybe they're a bank and they really want to be able to show, hey, we're partnering in this kind of way because we actually work in these communities. We want people to be aware of us as stepping up in this way. And also speaking to, today's changing world with AI and all different kinds of technology moving at the speed of light, young people are scientifically shown to have a little bit more mental flexibility and are excited about adapting new technologies. We've heard that from some of our partners that bringing in younger talent is actually helping them look at things in a new way, or even speak to a younger audience.
Yeah, I believe that. I
And
believe
then,
that. I believe that for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, they're gonna be more excited about stuff, they're more willing to learn and adapt, and probably I think there's a lot of fear right now in the AI, conversation. So the younger generation won't necessarily have that. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And then a lot of it also comes down to it being the right thing to do. The people that I work with day to day are incredible champions. These companies are really stepping up because they understand the incredible need to provide opportunities to Chicago's youth. So understanding what it is that's most important to them then allows us to be able to speak to not only their ROI for, specifically what was the value that we were able to add to their teams, but also what is the impact that they were hoping to see. And we can kind of speak to that as well, whether that's how many students did you actually have as interns over the year? Where are those students now? Did any of them stay in the field? Are we able to help some of our alumni who are in college or maybe beyond college loop back to your company? Did we amplify some of your early career opportunities like college internships or post-college opportunities? Did we really serve as a talent partner, if that's what you're looking for? And if there's other things that are important to you, is that something that we are actually doing? Being able to demonstrate that we're doing that is really key to being able to continue that relationship year over year. They have to be able to see that they're getting out of it what they hope to be, and that can be impact. That can also be something else. Usually, it's a mix of the two.
Yeah. So you mentioned CSR, corporate social responsibility, which is something that's been really important for a lot of companies for a long time. I'm curious if that's still such a thing in 2025. I know there's been a lot of change in companies' attitudes and executives' attitudes to these types of programs. Are you finding that's is it continuing, or is it making your life more difficult? Like, are people still into CSR, or are you downplaying that now more and talking more about here's the benefits that they're going to get about tapping into the new generation of talent pipeline and stuff like that? Like, what's evolving in the CSR world?
Both and a lot of what we're seeing is that companies post 2020 had a lot of motivation to be trumpeting DEI and other different kinds of buzzwords that were very fashionable at the time. But what I've seen, and this is just my perspective, is that companies are still passionate about these issues, even as the trends ebb and flow. And these individual champions that I'm working with on the ground, they are passionate about being able to support their communities, even if it's not something that they are trumpeting quite as loudly right now. My role is also to build trust with them so that they feel like they can be open and honest with me about the headwinds that they are experiencing in today's political climate. So if before we were categorizing our program in a certain kind of way, maybe now that's not in their best interest. And we can work with them to try to figure out, okay, how do we want to understand this program, whether it's something that's fitting into your overall talent strategy, whether it's something that's saving you cost, whether you're, looking to invest more in temporary hires right now because of this or that. There are ways that we can explore how they can continue to make the impact that's ultimately really important to them, even as the political climate changes. So I've had a lot of companies this year talk to me about the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, their values are still their values, even if things have changed in our world, they still want to make sure that they're investing in these kinds of ways. And it's my job to help make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Makes a ton of sense. But I also hear you tapping into their self-interest. So you're not just doing this from a pure, this is a charity, this is a charity, this is a nonprofit, that perspective. You're really trying to have this land with their overall goals. And that's kind of where a lot of this stuff links together, right? So what you're doing in the nonprofit world then links to what a lot of people are doing in the for-profit world, which is understanding what does the company want out of this? What does good look like? How do they want to be approaching it? How do they measure success and stuff like that? So what's your process for really understanding the customer's interest?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen people in this kind of role ask, wait a minute, am I in it for the mission or am I in it for these companies?
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
even
that's a totally fair question, right?
right? And even experience mistrust from internal colleagues who are seeing me advocate on behalf of the corporate partners and might say, hey, what are you really in this for? But what people need to understand is only by having somebody who is keeping that partner in mind as their primary customer, just as our program services are keeping our clients or our community in mind as their primary customer, that productive tension is the only way that nonprofits can exist sustainably and even grow in the impact that we're able to create. So having that account management piece is just as essential a piece of the puzzle as making sure that we are serving clients in the best way possible. So that doesn't mean that I don't care about the mission. It actually means I care enough to be able to see that bigger picture. So building trust internally across teams within that nonprofit is really important, helping them understand, what it is I'm doing and why. We actually just had a staff retreat where my team was sharing with the organization what we do, why we do it, how it connects to our mission, and how important it is to make sure that there's somebody who really is keeping that corporate partner top of mind in everything that we do. And that's also why podcasts like yours are so important and other different resources out there. Nonprofits are not always equipped to provide their account managers with this level of robust training because it's not their world, it's not their bread and butter, but it absolutely has to be if we want to continue creating change. And a lot of that has to do with building really strong, multifaceted partnerships with these companies where we're able to move beyond individual transactions, be able to speak their language, the language that they understand, to be able to create impact long into the future.
So my ears kind of perked up when you said that you were doing this offsite and that then you were presenting back to the team of all the things that the account management team is doing to support the overall mission. I'm really curious to hear what you said, how that went, what kind of questions came up, and the reason I'm asking is there's this sort of general feeling in the account management world that nobody actually understands what we do all day, right? They don't get it. And a lot of people, if they're not close to the job, they don't understand how tough it is. They also don't understand how impactful it is. And so I would love to hear your story. Like, tell us, what did you go through there? How did everyone react? What misconceptions were there, or what did you have to clear up in order to make the point about what you're doing? And like, what did you learn from it?
That's definitely something I've heard before of, what does Liz do all day? What is it that you're actually doing? I think there's a tendency to take these partnerships for granted. And so what I shared in that retreat is really the importance of making sure that we keep these partners top of mind as we move throughout the year, and not take it for granted that they're partnering with us, but really deeply understand them. And most important, this is what I emphasize to the team as well, most importantly, so that we can mitigate risk. We want to be unearthing risk throughout the year so that when it comes time for renewal, we're not caught by surprise. That was something that definitely resonated with the team, because we've all had those moments where a company that maybe we did take for granted, maybe we they partnered with us year over year over year, so we expect it's going to be the same. And then all of a sudden we learn, oh, they're out, and we didn't see it coming. That is something that has an incredible impact on the team. And so they really understood when I was able to speak in those terms. One of the things that I really emphasized with them is how we build these relationships with the companies. And there's really two elements of that I want to focus on. One of them is trust, and another is credibility. So trust really has to do with seeing it as a long-term relationship as opposed to individual transactions. We really want to be sticking with our companies through economic and political changes, internal change management that might be happening on their end or our end. They might be having budget challenges. It's a roller coaster. And when a company is telling us, hey, we can't take an intern this year, it's really easy to miss the forest for the trees, because we actually know who that intern is. We have that high school student who was hoping to have that internship, and we're looking that person in the face and saying, oh my gosh, that's a person whose life was going to be impacted, and this company's not able to do it. I also think nonprofits often fall into a scarcity mindset. Oh my goodness, we have to make this go through no matter what. And so one of the things that I emphasize to the team is the importance of understanding it as a long-term sustainable relationship. In those moments, do we stick by our companies? Do we respect their decision and explore ways to cross-sell or upsell? Maybe they can volunteer at one of our events or on a career panel. They might be able to participate in a Giving Tuesday campaign, attend one of our fundraising events, mentor a student, provide mock interviewing. There's so many different ways that we can stay engaged with that company. And if we do stick with them through the tough times, that might impact our ability to provide 10 internships in the future. Maybe we didn't get that one this year, and that hurts. That's tough when you've got a mission you really care about. But if we stick with that company, how do we then be able to create many, many more opportunities in the future? And in addition to building that trust, building that robust relationship, there's also the credibility piece. So we really do need to understand why every partner cares about what we're doing and be able to speak to what's most important to them. We have to make sure that we're following through. Actually, one of the things I learned on your podcast, follow through, not follow up. That's a
Yeah, it's a
lesson
good
that I've
one.
really taken to heart. Yeah. We need to be reliable and do what we say we're going to do. And coming into those partnership review conversations, having done our research, instead of just saying, how's it going? You can say, hey, I see that your accounting finance team is growing, or I read your most recent report. Being able to establish our credibility, now instantly we can already go a level deeper in that conversation. So there really is an art and a science to it. It's more than just checking in from time to time, but it's really about helping these partners have that trust in us and really see us as credible thought partners to being able to help them achieve the things that are most important to them.
And then how did your executive team react to all this? I can imagine that they're listening to this thing and they really like probably when you said we do this from a mitigating risk point of view, right? Like, so we try to minimize risk. Why? Because then our forecasts are good. Then we can make the right level of decisions and resource allocation and place our interns and stuff like that based on that, based on the work that you're doing to mitigate risk. What else did they say when you were presenting this?
Yeah, I actually worked on building a risk tracker to sort of think about what are some of those risk factors that we
Nice.
see coming up that we predict might lead to a company churning. And that's something that we're implementing in a lot of our forecasting. That's something that the team was really excited to see because for the team who's working so closely with these students, when there are those moments that a company might not renew, it's heartbreaking for them. So to be able to be looped in transparently to how these things are happening over the course of the year really helps them to understand kind of what went into that and what was done to try to help with that situation. I also shared with them just the ways that we're creating space for honesty and vulnerability in these conversations with our partners and leaning into challenging feedback. A lot of the times in these conversations, there's a tendency to talk about how great the intern's doing and everything's going so wonderful. Let's focus on those warm and fuzzy stories. But I really want to be able to unearth that risk so that we can track it. That's really part of what my role is. So I don't want to take away from the company getting to celebrate their impact. But at the same time, I want to be asking really strong discovery questions so that I am able to provide that service to the rest of the team, that we have that transparency and that knowledge as we make decisions around forecasting.
So that's cool. Give us some examples. Like, what are you talking about there when you're talking about these difficult conversations and being vulnerable?
Yeah, one of the questions I like to ask is if we were to time travel to next spring and you're telling me, gosh, Liz, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to take on an intern next year. What do you think the reason would be if you had to pick a reason, if you had to guess? Asking that question has been very fruitful in my experience because it allows them to go into kind of a hypothetical imagination space where they don't have to be telling me, hey, this is the risk that we're experiencing right now. But it sort of is a level removed from that. So they can say, well, if I had to guess, it would probably be because of budgets. Or if I had to guess, it would probably be because of something else. And that starts to let me know, okay, where's their head at and how they approach that answer as well tells me a little bit about what their headspace is as they're thinking about that. And so that's a question that has been very, very helpful. And also sometimes saying to them, hey, off the record, what's really going on here? That requires us to have built a level of trust to be able to really ask them that. It's easier sometimes to know when we don't have the trust than when we do. So I've had conversations where partners tell me, oh, we just don't have the budget for it this year. Sorry. That tells me that I've done something wrong. I have not built up the trust and the credibility for them to be honest with me. I can tell they're giving me kind of a surface level answer versus those companies where we have built up that trust and that credibility as a true thought partner. They approach those challenges by saying, hey, Liz, we're experiencing something. We're having trouble pushing this through. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Can you bring me an impact report? Can we look at the value that's been added to our teams? Can we quantify this? Can I bring you into a conversation with my executive? When we're at that level of really being a thought partner when those challenges arise, that tells me that I've been able to build that trust and that credibility with the partner.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I want to come back to that question that you asked. So you said you say if we were to time travel next spring, and it was very interesting because you used the reverse of what I've seen a lot of other people do. So most people would sort of say, what do we do that would guarantee that we continue to work together? But you actually did the opposite. You said, what would make it so that we would not work together in the future? And that's interesting because you're basically having the partner then surface the issues that might arise from their side that they may or may not have thought about before. But what it does is it gives you then a space to talk about it. So you're basically, because you're making it hypothetical and in the future, you're allowing them to talk about this stuff and surface things, which then allows you to put your risk radar up and be scanning out there to say what's actually going on here. So I like that a lot. I think that's a good tip for anyone who's listening who wants a like a black belt discovery question. That's a very good one, Liz. So I like the way that I like the way that one works.
Exactly. And it leads really well into some of those other questions that you mentioned. After we're able to talk about what are some of the risks that they might anticipate through this hypothetical scenario, then now we're talking about next year. Now we're already talking about the future. So that might lead naturally into discussions of, well, from your vantage point on the ground, where do you see opportunity? Are there other functions or departments that we might be able to move into with more internships? Could we expand? So leading with the risky question allows us to kind of get those things out on onto the table. And then from there, it transitions us naturally into talking about the future.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, And this is great because I really don't know very much about the nonprofit space, and so it's been fun to learn from you. Now, you've only been with Genesis Works Chicago for a year or so. You've been in the nonprofit space for a while, and you've done other account management role. Like I guess my question is like, is this a thing? Are there a lot of account managers in the nonprofit space, and I've just never come across them before? So what does that universe look like?
Absolutely. It's definitely becoming more of a thing. It definitely should be a thing. I think nonprofits are becoming aware that partnerships with corporations are key to our sustainability and being able to really have an impact. And so it is important not just to create opportunities for companies to partner with us, but to truly see them as partnerships. And that does require somebody being in an account management kind of role. And searching for new partnerships does require business development. It's something that I think nonprofits are becoming more and more aware of as they realize that these things aren't just going to happen magically. If we really want to achieve the impact that we're hoping to have, we need to make sure that we're providing avenues for companies to find us, that we're reaching out to them. One thing I do want to share is that when I was at Kara Collective, which is another workforce development agency, I co-wrote a resource called The Advocate with a K, so KIT, strengthening employer partnerships and pushing for inclusive change. We actually held a webinar series just for nonprofits in the workforce development world to learn how to do this better, to really be able to build partnerships that last for the long haul and be able to move past that scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, I just need to get this person a job no matter what the cost. I just need to make it happen as quickly as possible, to being able to actually take a breath and explore building a partnership that can sustain for the long haul. And so we had a tremendous interest from nonprofits, and a lot of people had never really approached things in this way. Many people don't have that role within their organization. They don't have something called an account manager or a partnership manager. I know a lot of nonprofits are starting to think about adding that kind of role because they're seeing the impact that it's able to have. And like I mentioned before, that productive tension of having some people who are focused on the client success and others who are focused on the company as their primary customer while always keeping the mission in mind. That's actually how you're able to continue to move forward.
So awesome. Thanks for the tour of your world. Last question. I'd like you to put on your recruiter mode. So imagine that you're going back to, a college campus and you're recruiting for this role. How do you explain to recent graduates that coming and joining a nonprofit as an account manager is a good thing to do? Like, what's the career path? What's your pitch for someone to get started in this area?
Account managers love the win-win. We love to be able to create value for the companies that we partner with, and also value for our own company internally as well. I think we're people who are motivated by numbers and metrics. We're achievers. We like to set big goals and be able to make it happen. And I think being an account manager in a nonprofit setting allows you to add that win-win-win. There's also that impact on the community. That's a third win on the people that we serve. That's something that is tremendously rewarding. It's so challenging in the best way. And it's also a lot of fun. I get to work with some of the most amazing companies in Chicago. I get to work with people who are so excited to talk with me because they have a day to day where maybe they are a little bit further removed from impact in the community. I'm able to bring them something that does bring them that joy, that sense of fulfillment, while they're able to continue in their day to day job and actually even meet the KPIs that are important to them in their role. They're also able to have an impact. And then at the end of the day, it all comes down to the individuals that we serve, being able to help organizations serve more people, grow through these partnerships. It's incredibly rewarding and it's something I absolutely love.
Cool. Nailed it. I love it. Thanks a lot. Awesome. Liz Jones, appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate this conversation.